The day has finally arrived that we all wish wouldn't. Rafael Nadal has retired from tennis. And while he walks away as one of the GOATs of the sport, he leaves behind traits that if you take them on, you could find yourself achieving elite level performance and dominating your sport. I'm really excited to be doing this video because Rafael Nadal is one of my favorite all-time athletes. Even as a professional athlete myself, I used to watch Rafa and take some of these traits and bring them into my own professional game that massively helped me. So this is definitely going to be like I'm fangirling over him, and I'm not even ashamed about that. All right, let's not hang around and let's get straight into this video. All right, number one, this first mindset trait is work rate. Rafael Nadal was renowned for his work rate. His intensity on court was something that allowed him to reach balls that other people weren't able to get to, stay in points so long that it ground down his opponents and kept him in the game long enough so that eventually it meant that they ended up losing and he ended up taking away the trophy, and he got 22 Grand Slams because he kept this work rate up. And this work rate is a mindset in itself. To be able to stay in a point that long, even when it looks like the point might be lost, and to just continuously keep going, that in itself is something that you have to be so strong on, because it's so easy to just give up. It's so easy to just stop and let a point go. And having worked with tennis players now, I see that that is such a valuable skill to have. And Rafael Nadal did it better than anyone to go on the court. And it even meant that his work rate probably left athletes feeling as if they didn't stand a chance before they even went out and started hitting rallies with him. That in the tunnel before he's about to go out onto the court, he's jumping and he's sprinting, and that intensity is showing his opponents that he's about to turn up for a fight, and they know that they're in for a long night. All right, number two is routine. Rafa was so well known for his pre-serve routine. The fact he would bounce the ball, do his hair, adjust his underwear. The fact that we know what it is and we can mimic it will show how repeatable it is, how much he has kept it for the entirety of his career, how consistent it has been. And so if we know what it is, think how easy it is for him, someone who would have done it hundreds of thousands of times. And there's some real science in what he's doing here. This is called a pre-performance routine. It's used to help athletes reduce their chances of choking under pressure. So in the big occasions, you have something to focus on that's fully in your control, that you know you can execute, that gives you the best chance of maximizing your skill and executing that skill under pressure. It's so powerful because you can go and take it into training and you can practice it over and over again, make sure that it's right, and then you know when you're under pressure, you just have to follow that routine, and it gives you such a high percentage chance to execute that skill again. If you don't have a pre-performance routine and you're just doing things randomly, then don't be surprised if your performances are inconsistent. And that was another strength of Rafa's, the fact that throughout his 23-year career as a professional tennis player, he kept that routine and he was so consistent, and it kept him in the games long enough and gave him those chances for all those Grand Slam wins and being one of the GOATs of the game. So for you as an athlete, you should be looking at how you can build a pre-performance routine that will help you execute your skill under pressure. For me, it was a part of my run-up. For footballers, it can be what they do for a penalty kick. For rugby players, it can be what they do before they take a conversion. For a gymnast, it can be what they do before they execute their routine. There are so many different routines that you can create, and when you can create them in your sport, that help you manage pressure and execute under that pressure. Number three is something that we all have, but Rafa seemed to embrace, and that is self-doubt. Embracing his self-doubt, he was caught in many press conferences saying how he does feel self-doubt.
I have doubts every day. The doubts, I think, are good, because the doubts give you the possibility to work hard.
Many of us will feel self-doubt, but we'll try to push it away and we'll try to hide it and think it's not there. But by embracing it and acknowledging it, we recognize that it exists, and then we can get on with our job alongside it. He claims that if you don't feel self-doubt, then you're just probably being arrogant, and he doesn't see himself as arrogant. He sees himself not so above it to actually say, yeah, I do feel self-doubt. I'm human. And that is a huge bonus for an athlete, to be able to accept the fact that you feel doubt. It actually rids you of the need to be perfect all the time, because you know that I'm going to doubt myself, and if I can go along into my performances with that doubt, I'm okay, because I'm just accepting that there is doubt and I no longer get controlled by it. So embracing your self-doubt can actually give you the opportunity to unlock more performance because you're no longer crippled by it. All right, number four, and this is probably my favorite one, is perspective. Nadal had an incredible perspective, and we know this because during his 23-year career and even longer, he never once broke a racket. When he was a child, his uncle Tony and his coach told him to never break a racket because it would be disrespectful to all the kids out there that couldn't afford one. It would be showing a lack of respect to people who actually have to go out there and buy the equipment that want to play the sport. But what's so impressive is that he was able to keep this perspective and keep this in his mind all the way through his career. The fact that during some of his most high pressure moments, when many athletes would lose it, break a racket, get stressed and frustrated and show anger on court, he never once did it. To show that amount of emotional control is a huge asset as an athlete, not only for yourself, but to also show it to your opponents. The fact that you are in control at all times, and that all that has to happen is that they can crack and that you don't, can give you the advantage that you need. What an incredible human trait to have in general. The fact that you can keep this perspective and be respectful to people who are looking up to you is something that's allowed him to be one of the biggest role models in sport, to have thousands, maybe millions of people looking up to him, wishing to be like him, because you do a trait like this, because you have perspective and you can show it through your actions on court. And having perspective is all about having an element of mindfulness. To be mindful of everything that you're doing and mindful of those and others around you is something that you can train. And if you want to train it, then be sure to head over to our app, Mind Strong Sport. Download it via the iOS and Android app stores. It is the mental gym that will help you build the strength in your mind, both on and off the court. Using meditations, mindset courses, breathing exercises, lessons, and much more. You can download it via the link in the description today. And that moves us on to the last trait, the one that we will remember Rafa for and we will love him for beyond what he did on the court, the shots that he hit, the games that he played. And that is humility. The fact that he was humble in both his victory and defeat. And you know this through the speeches that he gave at both his retirement speech and every time he won or came runner-up in a Grand Slam final. You saw humility from someone who was able to acknowledge their opponent in both victory and defeat, but also through the messages that he received from people after his career that they loved him as an individual. He was able to stay humble, he was able to stay grounded, and people will love that. Having humility as an athlete is one of the most valuable assets that you can have, because your career will end, your sport will end, and then it's how you are remembered after it. People will remember what you are like as a human being far longer than what you're like as an athlete. And if you can show that both on the court and off the court, on the field, off the field, in whatever sport that you're playing, then you will go a long way in your sport. Have humility, stay humble, and it will get you very, very far. All right, there we have it. I've enjoyed making this video and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. While it is so sad that Rafael Nadal is no longer in the sport of tennis and we won't get to see him play, I'm super grateful for the fact that I did get to watch him play, got to see some of the greatest matches he ever played and was inspired along the way. If he's inspired you, whether it's through his mindset, whether it's through his game, let us know in the comments, what was it that you loved about Rafael Nadal? But if you want to build a mindset that's even stronger and go maybe one more than Rafa, then you might want to watch this video next.